Welcome back, dear listeners, as we enter into the weekend before Halloween. Hope you're all as excited about the Halloween season as I am. As you know, last week, we were talking about all things conspiracy on TikTok. Well, that conversation actually went on and on because there is so much on TikTok about what lies behind the veils of our day-to-day reality. Even last week's Friday the 13th and solar eclipse event has its own folklore. However, how perfect is it that Jay and I were just talking about people's theories around the sun disappearing, and here we are having had an eclipse right after the FEMA alert test on October 4th. Conspiracy theories abound. Take a listen as we dive into yet another conspiracy on today's Deep Spinach. I have been seeing one conspiracy theory going around that I think everybody on TikTok has been spewing about, and that is the military, is the government trying to do something to our skies and our ability to see the sun? Now, what interested me in these videos is that this is from Fox.
Bill Gates doesn't think of himself as some guy who got super rich making bad software. Bill Gates thinks of himself as God, in control of the solar system. And that's why Bill Gates is now backing something called sun-dimming technology that would reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, causing global cooling. Ooh, that's not fraught with risks. You thought gain-of-function research on pathogens was dangerous. Try that. But that doesn't stop Harvard University. Its scientists are testing that technology by spewing calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial. It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic erupt, which we know cools the Earth.
Now, just to restate, Bill Gates is not God. Bill Gates is some kind of weird, socially awkward rich guy who lives in Seattle. He doesn't own the planet, but he's now changing the planet single-handedly. This is not just over his yard in Seattle. This is over your yard and our oceans and the whole planet.
Okay.
Yeah, wow.
I've
heard of this idea being put forth as a solution to our woes.
So I had, and it's so funny because as I was walking around the neighborhood the other night, I did capture these weird streaks in the sky that came out of no place, and there were no jets. It made me think of all this stuff that I've been seeing on TikTok. But TikTok, you TikTokers out there, you Lucy's of the world. Oh, now that's my term for you. You're now a Lucy. We had Karen, right? Now we have Lucy's.
The Karens.
The Karens, and now we have the Lucys of the world who go on there and they encourage information that may or may not be true, but some of it seems like it's grounded in reality. It could be in science. They're talking about science here. So let us go forth. This is a video that is trying to convince people, but through this video, I'm not convinced.
I've been talking about how they create clouds and use the clouds to block out the sun, and they've been doing it for a while. But look at this right here. Tell me, do you think they're using these clouds to block out the sun, or is this a coincidence?
Okay, to me, that just looks like a cloud.
It's just a cloud.
It's just a
sometimes
cloud.
A cloud will block the sun depending on where you're standing, but it's not blocking all sunlight to the planet. That's quite a different thing.
No, it's not like we're not seeing jets flying over spewing chemicals into our air. So I'm like, really? That's not, no.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go with yet another, and this was before the Canadian wildfires. So I thought, well, maybe there's something to this one.
This was 7 months ago, before the Canadian wildfire.
Stopping climate change. No. Now the White House says blocking the sun might be the answer, but what would that look like?
Interesting.
Take it.
I tell you, when I first started reading this article, it was like I just started diving in, and then it was like offshoot articles and this and that. So let's talk about this. On October 13th, the White House announced it was funding a 5-year research plan with about something called geoengineering, specifically solar radiation management, to to artificially modify the Earth's climate. This comes off some studies back in the 1800s. Bear with me here. In 1816, in April, the Tambora volcano erupted in Indonesia with such force that it resulted in something called the year without the summer. I'm not sure if you've ever heard that term before.
No, I haven't.
Back in 1816, the year without a summer, because after that volcanic eruption, the temperature of the Earth dropped 5.4 degrees. Okay. Yeah, and there was a lot of loss of life. There was a lot of loss of crops and everything. But moving forward, what scientists did, they started to measure this and they said, wait a minute. So the particulates and the aerosols from volcanoes actually blotted out the sun.
Back to us. I will tell you that I learned all about this in geology in college. And that is true. This is why, please do not hate me for saying this. I am just saying I am not a person who likes summers at all. And I know, because of my education, that when volcanoes explode somewhere in the world, that there's always the possibility that we're going to have a cooler summer. That doesn't mean, you would have to have something bigger than Mount St. Helens to do what he's talking about. Those are really, really, really big volcanoes that have just phenomenally explosive debris coming out. But again, if you recall, I don't know if you recall Mount St. Helens exploding when we were kids. I think it was I want to say 82, 83-ish. I could be totally wrong with that number, but I remember that following summer, man, it was a lot chillier. It was a chilly summer, and I wasn't complaining because I love the cold weather. So there again, that is a science-based theory that they're toying with. Let's throw a bunch of stuff up into our atmosphere and hope that everybody doesn't react it by breathing in the air. Yeah.
Well, this is a question of scale, right? A volcano is one thing, obviously, but if they were talking about doing this all across the globe, imagine. And well, that was an interesting thing. I think it was one of these was from a government source, if I'm not mistaken.
That is true.
See, a lot of the things that are conspiracy theories, just go to the official source. Sometimes it's not even the government is admitting this.
So if this video, they're talking about October 13th, that was last year. We're now in this current October 2023. We're already into the first year of this research that they're doing in their 5-year plan. So maybe some of what we are seeing, but I'm sorry, that does not compare to a simple cloud in the sky. No. So this is where I think that's and this is where I'm saying we all must use, I'm sure many of you know this out there, we all must use discretion when looking at some of these conspiracy theories on TikTok, on Twitter, and I'm calling it Twitter, on
Twitter.
Facebook.
It's always going to be Twitter.
Twitter. Tweet.
We refuse.
Resist.
This nonsense.
Right. And I'm not paying for it either, by the way.
That's another episode.
That in itself can be a conspiracy theory if you ask me. Back to this. I'm telling you, I look at some of this stuff on TikTok and I feel like sometimes TikTok can be a little dangerous, but I love it. But I think people need to be more discretionary with what information they're trying to push.
But just it's, a healthy level of skepticism is good. Have there been conspiracies? Of course, all the time. Check history. But
and yours,
and I like what I do appreciate with TikTok is that yes, there's some pretty wild, far-fetched ideas out there in these videos, but it is some of it. There is maybe a kernel of truth in them that it will at least spark curiosity and your own investigation. So if nothing else, it's just a jumping off point. We hope you've enjoyed part 2 of our conspiracy series on deep spinach. I know I always enjoy scrolling through the strange and bizarre late at night when I should have gone to sleep an hour ago. Really, I can quit any time. And of course, if you have any videos from Bizarro World you'd like to share with us, send it along to Javi Media Network on TikTok and other social media. Who knows, we may include it in a future episode. Deep Spinach is a production of the Javi Media Network, on the web at javimedia.net. Have a question or comment? Send us an email, info@javimedia.net. You can listen to Deep Spinach on popular podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and Pandora. Send us a postcard, artwork, photos of strange creatures caught on camera, or any other curiosity you can think of to Javi Media Network, P.O. Box 519, Meade, Colorado, 80542. And as always, thanks for listening. Javi Media.